Welcome to Making Wine at Home. This is the next in the series where we're making our Chardonnay wine kit. Now, we started that wine kit about 2 weeks ago, and today is day 14. On day 14, that's when we do our stabilizing and our degassing. So get ready, it's a feature-packed video. There are a lot of things we're going to be doing today, and it's going to take a while to get through it, so it's a little longer video. So away we go with the instructions. We're going to walk through, and then we're going to go piece by piece through until we're done with the stabilizing portion of making this wine kit. All right, reviewing the instructions, we've reached day 14, stabilizing and degassing. Record today's date here, then check the chart to find the specific gravity that we will need to measure. So in 2.1, we'll take the specific gravity, we'll make sure that it's less than 0.996. After that, if it is, we will then rack the wine into a clean, sanitized carboy, and we're going to leave as much sediment behind as possible. The next step, we'll add the contents of the sulfite sorbate package directly to the carboy. We'll agitate it with the whip that we use to drive the gas out in the degassing process. Afterward, we'll stir in the Kesosol, and at the very end, we'll fit an airlock and wait for the next stage in 24 hours. Now, to take some wine out, I'm going to take the airlock off, and I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to take my wine thief. I'm going to put the wine thief in. I'm going to let that fill up. And then what I'm going to do is take that, notice that wine. It's kind of cloudy, but that's okay because we're still in the early stage. All right, that's going to be enough. So we're going to put our wine thief away. And now the next step is we are going to drop our hydrometer into this and see what it's doing. Now, if you can see, the reading is right at 0.990. It might be 0.992, which is still under the specific gravity we wanted. Well, I'll spin it around a little bit just to make sure, but it looks like, yeah, it looks like it's more like 0.992. Perfect, not a problem, and we're going to go with that. So to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to sanitize, we're going to clean and sanitize our carboy. Now this is a glass carboy, and I've talked about using the PBW in the past, and what's good about PBW is it's an oxidizer, it's a very good cleaner. And what I'm doing is I'm adding this to my carboy. I've got a little bit of water in the carboy now, and I'm just adding a few scoops. I think that if you follow the 5-star directions, they'll probably tell you to put more, but it's not necessary. I use a basic DeWalt drill, nothing special, and a Clean Bottle Express. Again, this is just something that I'd recommend you buy. And what's good about this is it's going to clean the insides of the carboy really nicely. So I'm going to put that in. We're going to attach our drill. Okay, and even though you don't see the drill, I want you to concentrate on what's happening in the carboy itself. And if you notice, that's really cleaning the sides. Now we're almost done rinsing this out, but I wanted to make sure that you saw the process for doing that. I know it may seem a bit extreme because I really focus a lot on making sure that everything is clean, but you have to make sure that you have gotten all of your oxidizing cleaner, PBW, whatever you end up using, out of the container. If you don't, even a granule of it could ruin your wine, because the oxidizing properties of 5-star or any other oxidizing detergent it would be detrimental to your wine. Now that is clean. It is ready to be used in the next stage. Now there are two other things we're going to be cleaning and sanitizing. The first thing that gets cleaned is the Autosiphon. This is a different one from what I had shown you before. I use this one in the winemaking. The other one is a prop that doesn't plunge very well anymore. And what we do is we use another one of the pipe cleaning devices, and we just put that in and make sure that that's good and clean on the inside. Now, normally what you do is you do all of this kind of cleaning before and after, because after you're done, you want to make sure that the componentry is clean before you put it away. But when you go to use it again, then you want to go ahead and clean it one more time. Now I'm going to set this aside so that it can drain, and we're going to clean the plunger next. Now this is the plunger, and notice that there's a bend in it, so it's kind of hard to get this part clean. But if you put some of the PBW mixture in, run your pipe cleaner through, you're going to be able to get it pretty much through up into the crook of that neck. See, a little bit. And we're going to do it from the other side as well, so you can see that. And pretty good through the crook of the neck. Looks good. And there's really nothing in here. It's fairly well cleaned. Every time I use the Autosiphon, I always clean it very well. Make sure you rinse it out really well. Okay, so rinse it out so that you can see water coming out of the end of it. We're going to insert it into the Autosiphon, being careful not to touch anything. This is now ready to go. Before we put it into the must, we're going to rinse off the outside and make sure that it is sanitized as well, and then we'll put it in the must. See this little cup? Well, the cup goes onto the end, and what this cup does is it stops the Autosiphon from picking up the sediment, because it's going to go into the bottom where the sediment is, and it's going to sit just on top of that sediment and allow you to be able to pull the wine off of the top of that sediment. The tubing that we're going to use to transfer from the primary fermenter to the secondary fermenter, and you're going to have to clean two things. You're going to clean the inside, and you're going to clean this bit here, this bit right here on the inside certainly, and on the outside, because this is going to go into the secondary fermenter and it's going to come in contact with wine. So the very first step is to add some of your dissolved PBW cleaner. Remember, I've put PBW in here and then mixed it up so that it would be something I could apply inside a container. Now, I took one of my bottle cleaners, just kind of rinse it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run that in both sides, and then you rinse it out. Make sure that it's rinsed out very well. And then this side, this part, you can do the same thing. Just put some PBW on it. Rinse the outside of it really well. And then what I usually do is add a little bit of metabisulfite and just spray it. And I'm going to go hang this up so that nothing is touching. So remember, the the tubing that I had cleaned, and notice it's perfectly clean. And I'm going to put that into the carboy. Now, this end is going to be attached to the autosiphon. It's going to go into the must. We're going to attach the tubing, and now notice I have not pushed this all the way down to the bottom. There's sediment down here, and I don't want to pick the sediment up. So I have it somewhere in between. You can do this by, you can take this top off, or you can just do what I did and take the airlock off. But I'm going to go ahead and start. And now you would notice it more with a red kit, but now you can see that that is flowing. As it gets lower and lower, I'm continuing to sneak this down, but watch the color of this. When I go a little too low, did you see that? It got really cloudy. I'm going to do it again. See how cloudy it is? That's picking up sediment at the bottom. So we want to do our best to hold this as high as we can out of that sediment, so we get all of the clear wine that we can off of the top. Now what I've done is I've tipped the fermenter so I can get the last bit of the wine out, and notice I'm picking up a lot of sediment now. All right, there we are. Now we're at the end, and I'll show you what's left in the primary fermenter. I'm going to give you a detail of that. So here you can see the sediment, the dead yeast, some of the tannin coloring that was actually in that white wine. There was a little bit of brown coloring in it, and you can see, and of course the whatever's left in here includes the bentonite, that clay that we had put in to start with. This is going to be thrown out. You don't want to use this, and you don't want this being brought into your finished wine. So we have just racked a Chardonnay from the primary fermentation into this carboy for secondary fermentation. Now I'm going to take that sorbate, and I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. Okay. You can see that it's starting to react. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in and mix it up as quickly as I can. So the degassing process, I'm just going to kind of mix that sorbate in really slowly. But you want to be careful at this stage. We have quite a bit of liquid in here, and I don't want to over degas it. Now, when you degas, essentially what you're doing is you're beating the carbon dioxide out of the wine. In the process of doing that, it'll foam up. Now, what you don't want to do is run your degassing so hard that it creates a vortex. When you do that, it will add air into the wine, which you do not want to do. Okay, see it starting to and it might foam over. So if it looks like it's going to foam over, what I'll usually do is put one of these airlocks on so that it's still venting, but if it came up high enough, it wouldn't foam over. Okay, we have degassed this wine. There's no more gas coming out of it. And now what we're going to do is put Kesosol in. Now the Kesosol is a colloid that is used to bind to particles and pull them down out of the wine. That'll start to form a sediment in the bottom of the carboy. So we're going to put that in. To put the queso all in, I just cut the corner off, and I usually leave the stirrer in, and then I just pour that in. And completely evacuate the package. And then you don't have to beat the wine, you want to stir it. And I'm not going to stay on camera for a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and get that stirred up. And then the next stage is we're going to put an airlock on this, and then I'm going to cover it up to keep as much light away from it as possible. Now the last thing we're going to do before we cover this up is we're going to put a bung in, and we're going to put an airlock on. Now the airlock is filled with a little bit of a solution of water and metabisulfite. And what will happen is any other carbon dioxide that might be left over, won't be much, it'll push out, but this doesn't let air in. So it will allow any gas to escape, and it will serve as your airlock. So now I'm going to do, I always put a plastic bag over these to keep light out, but I'll show you that as well. What I do is I just take a plastic garbage bag, cut a hole in it, and then I cover it. That way, if any light comes in through any window, or any ray of light comes through, and remember, light and wine don't get along. So if anything happens like that, it's going to be completely dark. And we're going to let this sit for, I think the instructions say 24 hours, and we're going to come back and visit it again. Well, we certainly got a lot done today. This was day 14, where we stabilized and we degassed the wine. Now we're setting up for tomorrow, which is day 15, where we will clear the wine and we'll add our oak cube. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you for being with us during this video, and don't forget, have a glass of wine, because someday, soon, that glass of wine will be a glass of wine that you have made. Cheers.